Hello everyone, this is Meter and Nuts, and today we'll be continuing our beginner-friendly Road to OSCP video series. Today we'll be looking at another HackTheBox machine, that is Bitlab. Bitlab is based on Linux and the difficulty is medium, so let's just get started. Another thing about this box that Bitlab is in the section where it says more challenging than OSCP but good practice. My aim is to almost complete all the boxes over here, okay, because these are like even though it's a bit difficult, few things, there are other things to learn in this box, so that's why I wouldn't skip any of these and try to complete all of these. So most of the boxes I've completed over here, but there are like I think half of the boxes I have to complete as well. Okay, so like, what we'll do is just go and run our auto recon scan. So if you guys don't know what auto recon is, it's an Nmap scan, which is like it's gonna do Nmap scans at first, and then based on the open ports and services, it's gonna do additional scans on them. So if port 445 is open, it's gonna do additional scan on them. So autorecon.py file, autorecon file, you can get it from GitHub. So it's a good enumeration tool. 95% of the time it works great, but it's not always that you should rely on this particular tool, because sometimes you have to manually enumerate things further if you do not find anything. Okay, so we have auto recon and I'll be running it as root, so I'll be giving sudo here. Since the box I'm running it as Kali, I'll be giving python 3 over here in order to run this autorecon.py file. I'll be giving the target IP address, that is 10.10.10.114 in the case of Bitlab. I'll be giving the O switch over here for output directory and where I want to save the scan result as. So probably save it in wherever you all want, you all can save it, but this is the directory I want to save the scan result. So I did already execute the scan, so I'm not going to execute it again. So let's just look at the scan result. So first thing we'll look at is the full TCP Nmap scan, and we see that we have only two ports open, that is port 22 running SSH and it's open, and obviously the version is like very latest, I guess. I don't think there are any exploits for that. And we have port 80 over here, which is open, running HTTP, and it's running on Nginx server, so probably you can try to find exploits for this. Also we get some HTTP robots.txt over here in the nmap scan itself, and we see that multiple file space. Obviously we have this seen robots.txt earlier as well, and this does not mean that even though it says disallowed entries, it does not mean we are not authorized to check on these files. It's just for this Google search engines that they will follow the rules. They will be like, hey, robot.txt exists. Okay, we can have a better look over here. AutoRecon does the robot.txt scan as well. So this is what it looks like. Even though it says disallow agents, we can probably just go and check for these files because we are trying to attack it, right? Just Google search engine will be like, okay, I'll follow the rules. It says disallow, so I'll not go into these directories of files. Okay, so then we see, I don't think we have anything else over here. We have the HTTP title, sign in, and yeah, that's it, I guess. So we do not have anything. Obviously you can go and check out for the other scan as well to see if you get something. We also check the TCP go versus scan, as I mentioned like in the previous videos as well. Sometimes the go versus scan does not run from AutoRecon directly, so I have to manually do the scan again. So okay, so let's just look into the HTTP page now, because we have only two options. Either you can try to brute force SSH, because I don't think that's a good choice, and we can check for port 80. So obviously let's just go and check for port 80 and see if we get something. 114. So we see that we have GitLab Community Edition. So this looks like a vendor web application. Obviously you should check if it's custom application or vendor or an open source web application. So probably there'll be some vulnerabilities for it. You can go and check on Sourceploit for it. There are few, but I don't think that is applicable on this box, I guess. And also we get multiple things over here. First thing, you can just go and check for view page source to see if you get anything over here, but there is nothing. Obviously there are like this one hidden file over here which looks like a CSRF token, I guess. I'm not sure. It says authenticity token. Okay, nothing interesting over here. So what we'll try to do is let's just try and enumerate this particular file further. You can check out multiple things, explore about GitLab and all these things. Obviously you can try to do forgot password and try to check all these things as well, like check each and everything what's present in the box. Okay, so we see something in explore GitLab. It says project, group, snippets, and help. So help is I think the same page with this one. and yeah, so this is the one which it redirects to. Okay, oh, and we see over here, obviously this is out of domain about GitLab, so I don't think we should be going over here and enumerating things further over here because this is out of domain itself. So let's just close that. This thing we have it in the domain itself, so let's just check that, and we see that we have bookmarks HTML file. So let's just click on it, and we get multiple bookmarks over here, like 4 bookmarks. So obviously we can go and open all of these over here, and it says something like properties for GitLab login. So it looks like some bookmark thing over here which you can do, and there's some JavaScript function. So let's just look into this a bit. But here obviously we have HackTheBox page. This is also out of domain, so do not try anything over here. This is also out of domain, do not try. Same thing over here for PHP, same for Node as well. So we have bookmarks HTML. So what we'll try to do is we'll just try to look into this GitLab. So if we click on it, nothing happens, I guess. So what we'll do is just to copy link location, because you just hover a mouse on GitLab login, and at the bottom over here, just check for this. We're gonna get some JavaScript or something, so which may be interesting, alright. So we just copied the link right earlier, so we'll just paste it, and we come across some JavaScript function, and there's some variable over here which is mentioned, some hex value present over here. So what we can do is this is, so there are like multiple ways to actually get some value out of it. So what I did was, when I initially did the box, obviously I just used Python. So we'll just try to do the same thing over here. Let's just create a document that is Python and py, and let's just open this and see for the Python file. So what we'll try to do, we'll just write a Python file over here. So let's just do, I think it's user bin Python 3, and also we'll be entering, how to print a command. So in short, we'll be using this print command over here, and then we can just give the semicolon. I don't think it's required, but yeah, can just to be safe. And what we'll try to do is, we'll not enter this entire function because Python will not understand it. Probably it will throw us some error. So what we are looking at is this particular uh, function itself. So this entire string over here. So let's just copy that and like paste it over here into our Python file. And what we'll try to do is, we have this particular sorry, we have these things over here, so we can just remove the comma, and we can just replace it by like probably plus, and we can have a space over here, and we can have these colon, and also add it. So in short, what it would look like if you get any output over here, okay, so it would be like probably test, and it will give a space, it will give the colon and space again, and then test2. So basically this means like test is this, and test2 is this, and this colon plus space thing is this thing. So it will give us a neat output, that's it. Okay, so let's just, what we'll try to do is, we'll just try to copy this thing, the entire thing, so that we can paste it over here instead of this comma. Okay, so we'll just take it, paste it over here as well, paste it over here. Yeah, that's it, I guess. So let's just try to run it, and we'll use the print command in Python 3. So let's just go to our exploits directory, exploit, and do lsla. We'll just check out if we have execute permissions. We do not have, so let's just give execute permissions 744 and python.py, and then let's just run it using Python 3. So we see that we get like few data over here. Okay, so it says value, user login, get element by ID. There's clave over here, which looks like a username. So let's just copy that and enter over here. You can just enter probably like potential creds. So we can enter something like clave, and also we get password, I guess. That is user password, that is 11ds0081x. So let's just copy that as well over here, cherry tree. Okay, so we get a username, we get a password, we can try it with SSH, sorry, but we do not get anything over there. We cannot log in as SSH because that would be too easy, I guess, right? So I think this looks like the creds for this particular sign in over here. Let's just try that, clave, and copy the password, sorry, paste the password, and we'll just wait and see. We see that we get access over here as the user clave. So let's just sign out again, and what we'll try to do is look into it in different ways, like what you can do. So another thing we can do is like do inspect element and go to this console tab over here. Here you can add functions over here, JavaScript functions. So what we'll try to do is we can just probably enter this entire thing, I guess, and paste it and run it, I guess. So once we run it, it automatically will enter the username and password over here because of this JavaScript function. Okay, and another thing what you can do is just take the variable part and this entire path over here. So let's just copy this, okay, paste it, hit enter, and then now just you're declaring a variable over here, right, to this particular file. So just take this file 0x4b18, paste it, so that we created a variable that is this, and we have added the data of this. So when we hit enter for this, we will probably get whatever the values are present over here inside this array. Okay, so we get array over here. So it looks like user ID, same thing what we got in Python obviously, but this is a different way to do it. And another thing what you can do is just take this thing, do bookmarks this link, and bookmarks toolbar, save it. I think it's come over here, GitLab login, I think. Okay, so what you can do is you can just take this and press GitLab login, and you get the username and password. Okay, so this is how you can do it multiple ways, small thing, but yeah, it's always good to know how to do it manually, like in Python or something, before if you get stuck, it does not work, then it will be helpful over there. So we come across this tab over here. So this creds did work, but for GitLab login, not for SSH. It does not work for SSH, you can probably go and try it out. So we have administrator profile over here, we have administrator deployer, and it says developer and reporter. Okay, so what we'll try to do is just look into these directories over here, and we'll just try to see what we get something or no. Obviously we'll just try to enumerate other things over here, groups, activity, milestone, and snippets. Obviously you can check for activity if you find something like multiple things over here what is done. So probably you can get some password or something maybe like that if you check at times, but I don't think there is anything specific as such. But yeah, it's good to have that. You get to know what was done when, when this profile was added and all these kind of things, I guess. And we go to snippets over here. So we have postgresql something. So let's just open that as well and go back to our home, I guess, over here. Okay, so two things over here. This box, you can do it in two different ways. Okay, so first we'll look at the way which is somewhat easy. Second, we'll look at the way which is somewhat tricky, and there's like, reverse engineering involved in that. So first we'll look at this way, and this is the way which I did it, like in the first time when I did the box. So we have this PostgreSQL which we had opened. We get some DB connection data over here. So it says username profiles and password profiles. So obviously there are like some potential creds, but it was not useful. But still, whenever you get a creds, you take that and you enter over here, and then you do like you try to have all possible combination, like use clave with profiles, use profiles with this particular password, and so and so. So let's just you can probably do that, and then it looks like a PostgreSQL string. So I don't think we can use this as of now. So we'll come into this later. So we have this another deployer project and profile project over here. Okay. So if you look at the index PHP over here, because we have some PHP file, and over here it mentions that connect with PostgreSQL. So probably something related to this. So over here, if we look down, okay, we have some HTML page, and it says like clave web developer something specialized, something like that. Okay. So what we'll try to do is we can just try and enumerate things further, or we can check the deployer as well. So in short, there's some deployer file over here which is like gonna get payload and some it's gonna do a JSON decode on the input which is coming from here, and then later on after that, in short, it's gonna run few things. It's gonna save variables into something, and later on it's gonna check if profile and if the branch is master and if event is merge request and state is merged, then you do a shell exec and you do this particular command over here. That means it looks like, so it is gonna go back one directory, and then it is going to do a sudo git pull over here. Okay, so we'll just look into this in a bit because now it may seem a bit confusing like what's happening, but let's look into this in a bit. Over here, if we see in GitLab, so we have this as root, profile, blob, master, and this thing. So this is the path which is present for this particular profile directory. Let's just copy this for now and we'll come into it in some time. So we have something like this over here, blob master index php, and we'll just have this. Okay, so what will another thing you can do is obviously run GoBuster by yourself and run the common txt scan. So probably if you guys don't know how to run GoBuster, you can just check out for the small txt first. Locate that small txt, take this particular file and paste it over here and run GoBuster dir. Actually, you should have run GoBuster before trying to log in, but since we found the credentials, we just went ahead with it. Okay, so just do u http and the URL that is 10.10.114, and also we can do word list, so that is where this word list thing should come. And then later on you can give the extensions, that is xswitch, you can give php, txt, sh, pl, py, html, and probably cgi. So all these extensions you can give. Also you can, what you can do is you can give an o switch over here and mention GoBuster 80, yeah, so small txt, something like that. Okay, you can give any name over here, that does not matter, or just keep it simple, because you should differentiate between the different scan results. So another thing is, if you do this, obviously this is going to do an unauthorized scan. So if you want to do an authorized scan over here, so you can probably give the cookie which is present into this web browser, okay, and you can run this. But if you do not have these passwords or something, right, if you do the GoBuster the first time you do this and you get a scan result, so let's just look into this. You can run the scan probably, but I just try to look into the scan result which I already did run, because it may take some time over here. So let's just look into the small txt scan. We get a lot of things over here. Obviously we can like whitelist and blacklist the status codes, but I just wanted all the data to be present, so I could manually check it over here. It depends upon personal preference, but yeah, so we can check for status code 200 and see if we get something here. Probably we have like the search bar over here which we could have checked, but I don't think it was very interesting. We have this root thing over here, we have explore, and we have, so that's it. And probably we can check for 301s as well, because it was moved permanently, so probably there would be some of the other data or things over there. Okay, so it says 301, that's it. Help, profile. Okay, there's one help thing which we had seen over here. There's profile as well, which we can see. If you don't want to check GoBuster in this box, obviously we have the, what do you say, the robots.txt as well. So if you check robots.txt, we can check for these directories at first, because this is already present over here. So when we check for these directories, we can just check for profile directory as well. And we can, obviously when you do the box first, you check out for all these things. If you find something or not, it's not that it looks okay, it may be like a genuine thing that it may look interesting, but so that's why I used it. But then obviously try to check out all the things as well. So once you do profile, we come across a page which says Clay web developer, or web developer is a programmer, something like that. So in short, this looks somewhat similar to this particular index php over here, because if you look over here, it says Clay web developer, or web developer is something like that, and it's the same thing over here. So in short, it looks like whatever we update in this particular file probably should give us, and should override this thing. Okay, so let's just confirm that and see how it would work. Also, another thing, if you want to come to the profile directory, you can check for this profile thing over here, but that's going to take you to some other clear page. Then we can check for settings, but this settings brings us to this profile thing over here. So manually you can check for the project. If you're not using GoBuster robots, you can go from here as well. Okay, so we have this profile page over here. So we have index php, and we see that we have like a developer access over here, I guess. So and we can change things and edit things over here. And if you go to this deployer, so we cannot change anything over here, it's locked. So we are not able to change anything over here, so let's just leave that aside. So what we'll try to do is, we have this index php, Let's just open it and try to edit this particular file to see if it works somehow. Ideally it should not work, because if you see this page, okay, this is a profile PHP, so it would be something like profile, and it would be something like var www HTML and something like that, because this is like the default location where your web application would be present. It's not that it's a hard and fast rule that it's going to be present here only, but most of the boxes we have seen it's present over here. Okay, and this directory looks a bit different, like root, profile, blob, master, index PHP, right? It's a lot different. So in short, what if we try to get this index PHP? Okay, this is where this particular edit file is present. Okay, now just ignore this edit, but yeah, consider it blob PHP, which we had seen earlier over here. So that means if we try to update this thing, so there will be some job or something running that this, it will copy this thing, or it will pull from this particular repository over here. Okay, so this is how it's gonna work probably. If it does, then only we can get this particular malicious code written over here in index PHP in blob master, that is this particular thing master. And if we write something over here, and if the changes are being reflected over here, that means there is some mechanism that is taking the contents from here and it is pasting over here. Okay, so this is what would happen, and this is what this entire deployer script is probably doing. Okay, so it's going back one directory, so that means it is going to the cd profile directory. Okay, in this thing particularly, because I think over here there is deployer as well. Like, let's just add that. There'll be deployer as well over here, like, sorry, my bad, not profile, deployer and the index PHP. So let's just check for the deployer index PHP file. Okay, let's just do one thing. Let's just look into this first, and let's just confirm that if we write something over here that is in this directory, this path, we get it reflected over here. Okay, so let's just confirm that first. So instead of clay, what we can do is I'll just write muted and nuts. I'm a web developer now. Okay, so this is what I am, and muted and nuts. Okay, so let's just do commit changes, and we can do submit merge request. Don't have to enter anything or modify anything, or don't have to enter any command or something. Let's just leave it as it is, because we do not want to change anything else. So then we can do merge over here, and that merge is done. Okay, so it says developer something like that. So now we have done the merge. So probably if this thing actually works, like if the profile is done, master is done, merge request is done, state merged, so probably it's going to do a shell exec. So first, obviously, if we had some edit command over here, we could have just obviously written something like this, right? Or we could have modified something over here, something like that. But we do not have any edit permission over here, so we cannot edit those files. So it's doing if it probably does a git pull, and it gets this malicious file over here now, so we'll probably get this particular profile page modified. So let's just roll this, and later on we see that we have muted and nuts present over here, and probably we can confirm that obviously this thing what we had suspected, this index PHP getting pasted over here, did work. Okay, so that's why we have this index muted and nuts. Now if you all are confused like why it is profile, obviously because index PHP or index HTML is the first page which you load if you load the page, so it's not going to specifically or explicitly mention over here. So what if we check for index PHP, it's going to get the same page, so it means obviously index PHP itself. So in short, we can successfully write that page. What we can do is we can go back to project and go back to index PHP. We can write a shell over here in index PHP, or what we can do is we can just add a new file over here, that is new file. We can add this new file as probably add reverse PHP. Since we already modified that, we can just try to confirm and see If PHP execution is successfully working, then we can modify this reverse PHP file. Otherwise, it will you'll break your head if you add a big script, reverse script, and it's not working. So you'll be breaking your head over here. So just try to add this simple PHP code, that is echo system, and we can just probably do who am I. Okay, that's it. I guess we do not need to do anything else. Just keep it simple. Okay, so we can do this echo system, who am I, and we'll just try to commit changes. So let's just do that into our reverse PHP. So this is that PHP script which you are gonna, usually we just give the request command, but here we'll just try to echo system who am I, just to keep it simple. We just want to see that, if it works, if the PHP actually executes code. So now what's happening is there's another file which we have created in the blob master, that is the reverse PHP, and it's gonna enter probably this file. If that thing works, that deployer script works, it's gonna enter this file over here as reverse PHP. That means in our web application. So we can just try to load it directly. Okay, so we have profile, we have index PHP over here. So let's just try to check out this particular file, that is the reverse one. So we'll do reverse PHP over here, and we do get RC, that is www data. So that means we successfully have remote command execution, and what we can do is we can just go back to our project, then go back to the reverse PHP over here. We can edit this particular file and we can just write a reverse shell. Okay, you can get the reverse shell script from Pentest monkey, that is over here. So you can get this particular file from here, that is I think reverse shell cheat sheet, and we can go to this PHP page. You can get it from here, but I already have it in my system, so I'm not going to download it again. You can go and download it. Obviously there are like few comments on top. I just removed it for this particular this, because obviously it's going to be a long list. And so there's IP over here, right? So what we can do is we can just try to modify this IP to the attack machine's IP address, that is 10.10.14.28. That is my IP address of the system, and with the port as well. So we can just leave it 444. I think the default was 888. I changed it to 444. Do not change anything else. Obviously over here in bin sh we can add bin bash, or just leave it as sh, because it's good to have safe, because sometimes our bash gives us issues in the system. So let's just leave it default. We can upgrade the shell later. So let's just copy this entire thing, and we can go back to the edit file over here, remove this thing because we do not require this anymore, and we can just do commit changes. So once we do commit changes, we'll see that, okay, we can do sub merge, submit merge request. We do merge over here. Okay, so we do that, obviously, and two things I want to tell you all is, obviously, if we just start our netcat now, if you all don't know what netcat is a connection tool form. If you can have, like, it will be listening for a connection. If this particular shell, reverse shell, sends you a connection, it will catch it, because we are using the listening mode over here. End mode is for numeric IPs only, and we'll be giving the verbose output, like more verbose output, and also the port, that is 4444. You can give that. So netcat is waiting for a connection. Now this is a tool present in Kali. So what we'll do is we'll just click on this reverse PHP, and it's not going to work, because it's not going to execute this file as PHP or anything. It's just going to print out as like a text or something like that. Why? Because we do not get anything over here. So now what we can do is, we had that reverse PHP right earlier, so we can do that over here. We can go to profile, and we can do reverse PHP. If we just hit that, we see that we get a shell over here, and if we do who am I, we are over here as www data. Okay, so let's just probably go to home directory and see we have user clave. So let's just go to clave over here, and we cannot read the user flag because we are not the user clave, we are www data. So that means we cannot actually get the flag over here. So quickly we'll just do sudo l, and we see that we can run one command, that is this, as root without giving any password, that is user bin get pull, which is similar to that command which we had seen earlier, right? So the command which we saw earlier, that is in the index PHP over here. So sudo git put. So this is like the unintended method of the box, but it's good to know and good to have, like you can learn few things over here. So we'll just see and what it is about. What we can do is another thing, we can upgrade our shell. We can use Python over here. We can give the C switch over here. We can give import pty and pty.spawn. Then we can give bin bash. Okay, and then probably we can just end this thing. This is how you upgrade the shell. Pty spawn. You can go and check on Google like how do you upgrade the shell. You get few steps. You can do it. So this is what it looks like, much better. We have a bash shell over here, and what we can do is press Ctrl Z, then press HTTY raw and echo. Hit this. You'll get something over here. Now what you have to do is you have to press F and G. Okay. So if you press F and G, it's not going to appear on the screen. Just press F and G and press enter. F G, enter. And we get this NC NVLP which was entered earlier. It just came by itself. Now we get this weird looking thing on the side. So let's just do reset. Okay, and once you do that, it says terminal time. I think you can enter xterm or screen. My bad. You can enter screen, I guess. Yeah, so we do get this over here. So in short, we have like a proper shell. We have upgraded our shell. What we can do is we can just go back to the var www directory and check out for things over there, so that we can confirm on this particular thing and how it worked. Okay, so let's just go to var cd www cd html, and we see that we were correct. So obviously this belong to the root directory. Inside root folder there is like a directory profile and everything which is running over here in this application. And over here we have these two, like this profile directory probably present. So if you go to profile, there's deployer as well over here. So you can just go to cd profile. So we have this git directory over here. Okay, and we have this index PHP, we have this reverse PHP as well. One small thing is that in order to escalate privilege, obviously we saw that we have sudo L on this particular git pull command. So we can just try and check out how do we exploit this particular thing. Okay, this was an unintended path, but when I did the bugs first, I obviously used this method as well. Now, obviously after some time, like trying on Google or something, I found something like you can execute commands over here after git pull is done. But let's just see how it is done. Okay, so what we'll try to do is we'll just try to check out for, okay, let's just run this command first. Let's just go back to the root directory. I just want to show you all something else, that if you all just run this command as sudo, okay, obviously it's good to run this command and see what it does, right? Because you may not be very well aware what is git pull. So obviously it's good to always run this command first and see if it works. If you do this, it says not a git repository or any of the parent directories .git. So in short, you have to be in this particular profile directory or somewhere where this git thing is present over here. So what we'll try to do is we'll just try to go and to this particular directory again. So we can just do cd dash, so it can go to our last working directory, and then we can go to cd profile, okay, yeah. And then we can run the same command again. So that is sudo bin pull. And it says already up to date. So that means it executed over here. We have to be in that git directory where that git file is present, right? So if you see lsla, we are present over here. That means we need to have this directory present. Then only we can execute these git commands, okay? So, and if you do, I think if you do lsla on this user bin git, I don't think we can execute this file. Only root can execute it. Okay, so that means we cannot see the logs and everything. Obviously, you can read the files and things present inside, but we do not get anything over here. So this if you do user bin git pull, it is trying to pull from somewhere, right? In short, what happens is in in this branch and everything, there is a master directory where it's trying to pull something from. So it's trying to pull something from probably this thing over here, blob master index PHP or something like that. Okay, profile blob master. So what we'll try to do is let's just confirm that. We can go to the cd git directory, and we can check the config file. So then that is cat config, and we see over here that there is a profile.git thing present over here, URL, and from there it's probably trying to fetch this thing. Okay, so this entire thing over here. So it's going to get it from here. This is the origin from where it's going to pull that particular thing, probably root and profile get. So something over here, profile get. Okay. So what we'll try to do is we'll just go and check out on Google for get execute command after pull, and obviously this was not the first Google search attempt which I did. I had to check out for multiple things how to execute. Then I found out some or the other clue, like probably you can execute commands, but let's see how it is. So in this particular page we see that we can execute command as after a pull. So when you run get pull, get actually does a fetch followed by a merge. This means you can use the post merge hook to execute a script when a pull is completed. Okay, so this is what it's doing, and we need to have a post merge hook present inside the hooks directory. So if we see over here, we probably have the hooks directory, that is this. We can go inside this cd hooks, and we do not have the post merge, but we can try to create it, right? Post merge. But let's just see, let's just try creating post merge. If you use touch is used like to create a file, it will create a blank file for you. So if you do touch post merge, it says permission denied because this directory belongs to root. We cannot write over here. So since we have read access to this particular directory, in order for this entire thing to work, first thing what we can do is we can go back, we can copy the entire profiles directory, this profile repository, into some other directory that is probably temp directory. So what we can do is we can just use cpr, r is for recurse. We can copy this profile over here, and then we can send it to tmp as profile. Okay, so let's see how it works. Just hit enter, and I think it's done. So let's just go back to our tmp directory, or you can use dev.shm. Okay, so let's just go to profile. We do have the git repository. Let's just try running the sudo command which we had seen, right? Which we added over here. So let's just try running that and see if it works. So it does work, and it says already up to date. So in short, we have this thing running. So let's just try and see if we can obviously write the git directly, because obviously we copied it over here. So it said like www data. All these things belong to www data. So we can just go to the git directory, then go to hooks over here, cd hooks. Then we can just probably create a file that is touch post merge. And if we successfully create the file, that's why we did not get any error. We do have this file present over here. Another thing what we can do is, since the file would be blank, we can add some command over here in order to confirm that it executes command after the successful pull and merge is done. Okay, so it says already up to date, right? Over there it mentions something like already up to date. What we can do is we can just try and see if it works a bit different. Okay, when you try to create a file or create something in that profile PHP, how we create a reverse, right? So we can just try to create a file that is probably like priv, mention priv, or probably mention just test. Okay, so just enter test, just enter the file test. You can enter PHP, I don't think that is required. Just enter test.txt file, and we can just enter over here test1. That's it. Just commit changes, do the same thing again. Do not have to enter anything unless it's mandatory, right? You get that asterisk. You do not have to enter anything, just leave it as it is, and do a merge over here. So once you do a merge over here, then let's just try, and I think the merge is done, right? Yeah, it says merge. And if you look into the profile, we have this index.php reverse, we have some readme jpeg file and test.txt. If we go back over here to the profile directory, so we obviously have the developer jpeg file readme, and we have the index.php and reverse.php. What we do not have over here is the test.txt file which we just created. This is present in the root profile directory over here. Okay, so the root profile directory consists of these files over here. Obviously this blob master was like some way to represent this thing, but it meant something like this. In root directory profile there is index.php present, and same thing over here. Okay, so that's how it's getting clear, like step by step. So we have this test.txt over here. This is like the master, okay, master branch or something like that, the master directory. And this would be like the child directory where we do not have this. Okay, there are multiple things like master and slaves. So slaves literally try to update things from the master. It happens in organizations as well. Like, sometimes there's some master server, and every 1 hour there's a job running which will try to fetch some detail from the master server, like all the slaves. Like there'll be 5 slaves. Okay, so fly slave servers, so it will try to try to get information and try to update things, just something like which is used in organizations as well. So somewhat like that. Obviously this is not used like entirely related to this organization thing, but it is probably used. So in short, we do not have that test.txt. What we can do is we can just run this particular sudo command again and see if we get this thing updated as of this. Okay, that's why we are doing pull. We are taking this file from this particular directory over here. Like, let's just create this and enter test.txt. Okay, so we are taking this file and we are probably trying to enter it over here. Okay, so that's not var html now, that's probably like tmp profile, because we have changed the directory, right? So it's probably we are trying to get this file over here. So what we are doing is we are doing a get pull request that, hey, you know what, you come from here and come into my particular directory over here. So this is what we are trying to do, I guess. So let's just hit enter, and it does say something, and it says one file changed, one insertion, create mode, and test.txt, something like that. And it says the hook post merge was ignored because it is not set as executable. So remember, we created this post merge, we did not create execute permission. Obviously it was blank. So just to test it, in short, it looks like this thing got hit as in it was trying to execute it, but it did not work over here. So you can disable this warning over here, we can just ignore that. So now what we'll do is we'll just do lsla. We see that we successfully have the test.txt, and obviously the it is created by root because we use sudo git pull, right? So in short, we got this test.txt file. So now we have confirmed two things, that we can probably pull from this particular page over here, whatever we write into this directory. So another thing what we can do is create that post merge file to see if that script executes successfully. Okay, so let's just go to cd git, and then go to the post merge, that is, go to hooks, and obviously there is first thing, post merge will just do chmod 777. We'll just give all permission for all users because root will be executing as well. So 777, and what we can do is, obviously if you do cat now post merge, it's gonna be blank, there's nothing present over here. So what we can do is we can just do printf, and we can enter something like bin sh. We can enter other things as well, but it's always safe whenever executing some script, have it as sh. Okay, so we can do an sh command over here, and we can just do something like, we give the /n for new line, because if we do not give this, okay, it will be like if we enter this command, right? So if you do not give that, it will look something like if we enter the next command, suppose who am I? Okay, I'm trying to enter it like this, somewhat similar like this in the next step, but it will come as who am I in printf. Okay, so let's just give that n over here, and we can just save it to post merge. Okay, now if we do cat post merge, so we do have this particular bin sh done, and now we can just print another command, that is who am I, give the new line again over here, and we can just append this file because we do not want to create. So this thing says create a file, or that's how you can do this, and this thing says append the file, don't delete everything. So it will append it in the second line over here. So let's just see what it does. And now we'll do cat post merge. So see, we got this particular file exactly like the way we wanted. That's why we use the /n, and the /n disappear because it says new line. So we have post merge over here, we have all the execute permission and everything. Okay, so just for now we'll just enter who am I and see if we successfully get remote command execution. Then we can further get a shell. Okay, best way to do this, and you can confirm. Okay, so let's just go back, and then later on we can enter the sudo get pull command again. So it says already up to date. So obviously you have to follow this entire command again, and you have to get this another file or something created. So let's just go to, okay, we're already in projects, so let's just create another file. Who am I txt verifying only, something like that. You can enter anything you want. Do commit changes, go to submit merge request, and do merge over here. So once this thing is done, so what we can do is manually try to go and check things over here. So another thing is we do have test.txt reverse, okay, as seen earlier. So obviously we'll do sudo get pull now. It will obviously get that who am I txt file as well. Just small thing to show you all is if you go to cdvar www html and we'll go to profile directory. So we get the who am I text already over here. Because why? Because of this particular deployer script over here, okay? Into this var www html profile that it's using the get pull, right? So that's why, but somehow obviously we have created some other directory. There's no job for this particular get pull. So that's why it's not working over here, okay? Like in our case, we have to manually update it, okay? So it's over here, as I'm saying, that's how we got this reverse PHP file in the first place, right? We added it over here in our project over here, and then we got it over here. So that is how that who am I file came on its own, because that job is running, that script is running over there. Okay, so let's just go back to our directory probably. I think it's gonna take us back over here. So let's just go to cd_tmp cd profile. We do not have the who am I, so we do have who am I over here. If we see project, okay, this is the deployer, my bad. Project, we do have who am I text over here. Let's just do sudo get pull and see if we get something different now. So we'll do sudo get pull and we see that we have something over here that is root. We are done who am I, right? So in short, we have successful remote command execution done over here. So obviously this thing is confirmed. What you can do is, second step, you can update at post merge, you can add a reverse shell or something like that over here. We can try to create a document over here for the file post merge and open it, enter bin sh. We can enter bin bash, all these things as well, but just to be safe, enter bin sh. And you can enter a Python command over here, since we already have Python, right? We already have Python in this box, so let's just enter the Python reverse shell command as we are adding it into our shell, like as in the bash shell. So if we go to reverse shells, so we have this Python command over here. Let's just take this and save it in a file. Okay, so obviously we have to modify the IP address. Do not forget this important thing, 14.28, and the port number, that is, just select 5555 now because your 444 is already in use. You can select any other port if you all want. So we have Python C. So this Python C means that we are running some command, like earlier how we did that Python C import pty. So we are doing it in the bash shell. We are not doing it in Python. So that's why we give this. If you wanted to write the Python code itself, you can remove this entire thing, this Python C, and over here you can mention Python. But just to be safe, have this sh option and have an execute command over here as sh. So that's why we give Python 3, just to be safe. Okay, we give this thing. We have this file ready. Post merge, what we can do is set up a Python HTTP server so that we transfer this file to our target machine. So we'll give Python 3 module mswitch for module. We'll be using the HTTP server module. You can give the port number or you can leave it, and by default it's gonna take 8000. Over here what we can do is we can just go back to, we'll just go to the git directory and hooks. So over here we'll just try to get that wget file 10.14.28 and the port number, that is 8000, and then post merge and output it to this post merge file itself. So let's just hit enter. It does get the file. Obviously we got the get request over here. We did get the file over here, and if we look into this file, if you do cat post merge, so we see that we have this Python script successful over here. What we can do is we can just create a listener over here. Okay, so we can just create ncnvlp 555 just to see and confirm that this reverse shell is working in the first place. Sometimes there will be like, some colon is missing or some comma is missing over here or something like that. Okay, so like single quotes are missing, so let's just try and confirm and see if this post merge works. So we are running the same thing. Obviously if we get a shell, we'll get it as www data, but we are confirming over here if the shell works. Always a good practice to see. Obviously I think it works, that's why it got stuck over here, and we see over here that we are as www data. So obviously this is just, we were testing it. Let's just do ncnvlp again. We are back over here. Let's just go back and we'll just try to run the sudo command again for git pull, and obviously you have to create that file, create a file again, something like that. So now we can probably just do new file, something like root txt. We are going to be root, something like that. You can enter anything you want. So just do submit merge request, and we'll do merge over here. So I think it's done. Merge is done. What we can do is we have the netcat listener running on port 5555 because it's present over here in this post merge file. We'll just use sudo and that git pull command over here. So let's just copy it, paste it, run it, and see if we get something. It does run this entire thing, and previously we got root over here, right? If we can see over here, we got root. Over here, this thing got stuck. So obviously we got a shell over here, and if we do who am I, we are as root. We can go back to the home directory as enclave, and we can very well read this user txt file because we are as root, so we can very well read it. And we'll go back to root directory, and we come back over here and we see that root txt is present, so we can very well read the root txt as. So another thing is that we can see in this box that profile directory was not present in this root directory over here as we thought it was present, but it is present somewhere in the Docker container because Docker is running in the system. So if you do psaux, so we see that we have the Docker commands present over here. So it's present, yeah. So container docker sock is present, and this particular GitLab is running over here probably. So if we check for GitLab, that means it's working in the Docker container. It's like, if you guys want, you can go and read about Docker. It's like some virtual container where things you can run. So it's probably like somewhat like a VMware kind of thing, not exactly, but yeah. So this is where if you see that multiple things are present on backend or GitLab public home GitLab. This is present in the Docker container itself, I guess. GitLab over here. Okay, because as we saw earlier, obviously we do not have any user as Git, so it's present in that GitLab container, Docker container. So now we'll look at the other way to do this particular box. Okay, what we can do is we can just try. You do not require this www data shell as well, so you can probably exit out from this. And for some reason it freezes, so collapse up terminal. Just close that. We do not require those that www data shell. What we'll look into is the snippets, and we'll look into this postgresql over here. So what we'll just copy this code for now, and we can just try and create, since we already know how the thing works, right? From that Docker container, it's gonna get a pull request in that file. In short, then we can have a successful command execution done over here. Okay, so we'll just try to create a new file that is postgresql or psql, and just mention as php because we have to execute it as php because that's a php script over here. We have this particular file, and let's just do commit changes and also submit merge request. So undo a merge thing over here, and let's just try to load this particular file that is a reverse PHP. So we can just probably do postgresql.php. If we see, we do not get anything, we get a blank entry. So that means that file which we had merged it over here, this particular file, it is actually incomplete. We have to, if we read into this file, obviously we have a username, password for the connection. It is getting the query into this result, but it is not printing anything. So probably we have to find a way to print that thing. How to print entries. So something like that. So if you look into this, we have this pg fetch all command, so which we can use over here. So in short, we are connecting to the database. Obviously just ignore this part because this is doing the connection and it's gonna give an error if it does not get connected. Over here we do not require to add that. We can add that as well, but we do not require. So we require this to command over here because it's trying to get the result, whichever result it gets from the query over here. Select all from authors. So this is what it is over here. My bad. Over here, select all from profiles. So this result is coming over here. So what we can do is we can edit this file now and we can add these two commands over here and probably close the PHP script as well. So we can add this over here. Okay, so instead of array ARR, we can probably just enter anything. You can enter anything over here. Just enter like we can enter meter and nuts as well. And over here we have to leave this thing same as this thing. Obviously coincidentally this result was same over here, but if obviously there was some variable like result 1 2, we have to enter 1 2 over here as well. Okay, so we enter that. We do not have to enter that 1 2. We can just leave it. I hope it's visible and it's not too small, the font. So we have this meter and nuts over here. Let's just copy that and paste it over here itself. So print r, do this thing and try to save this, commit changes, go submit merge request, and we'll do merge. We do not have to do revert or anything over here, so let's just go back and let's just try to load this PSSQL script again, because obviously we have this PSQL over here, so it's present over here. So let's just try to do this, load this thing, and we see that we have array and username, clave, password, and some password over here which looks like base64 but it isn't. So you can probably go and check for that. So but it doesn't base64. If you do that, let's just see it in a bit. So over here if we do base, I don't think we require this Python server now. Let's just close this. So if we do echo n, so that we do not enter any line, we enter base 64 and d, it shows us partial output, but it says invalid input later. So obviously this is like, obviously you all may think that okay, this is the password for this clave user probably, but this is the actual password. So let's just try that. Clave sh clave at 10.10.4, sorry, 10.114. Just hit enter and paste this password which we did find, right? So we'll use this password as a whole without any decoding. Paste it, hit enter. You are inside the system as clave, and this is the intended part, second part. So if we look into it, we can obviously read the user flag because we are in the system as clave. Okay, so this was done. Now we see there is, obviously you can check for sudo l and all these things. You can give the password, same password which we saw. It says user cannot run Bitlab. We do uname a as well, and we see that it's 64-bit OS. So obviously we have remote connection exe file over here. What we can do is we can just try to get this file into our attack machine. So we can use SCP for that. So we can, that is secure copy. So we can use SCP clave at 10.10.10.114, and we can give the file name after this colon, that is the remote connection exe, and the directory where you want to save the file as. So I want to save it in the current working directory itself, so I'll just paste the entire thing. So this is the attack machine's directory. So obviously if you want to save it in the same directory, just enter the file name and it's going to save as this file name itself. Otherwise you can enter the whole path where you want to save it. So we'll use SCP over here. Obviously it will prompt for the password which we have to enter is this thing. Copy it and paste it over here. So we successfully copied the file. Over here itself we could have just checked for file and this particular thing. File is a tool which is going to give information what kind of file this is. So it says like P32 executable console for MS Windows. In short, it is for MS Windows, and I don't think we can probably just try to execute it or something into a Linux machine. We can try to be safe and try it on the target machine. We have read access over here. Let's just give execute access as well. So we can do chmod and we can give 5 and this remote connection exe, my bad, 500 and remote connection exe. And now we can try to execute this file. Obviously it's going to give us some error saying it cannot execute exec format error or something like that. So obviously you have to run this file in a Windows environment over here. So what we'll try to do is we have this remote connection file. Let's just open this, and obviously the connection access is only read. So you can just probably enter chmod and we can do 500 over here as well. We can do remote connection. We have this file over here. Okay. So now what we can do is another thing. We can just try. So the thing is, for this particular file, if you want to reverse engineer or something like that over here, we have to have a Windows environment present so that you can properly execute this file and run it in some debugger or something like that. But I didn't want to do that because I already have my host machine as like Windows itself, but I actually wanted to try to find a way so that I can do it in the target machine itself, in the attack machine itself. So there is a thing called Wine for Linux. So I think I had to install this entire library, and I think it's a big library. You have to install this. So in short, we can run Windows applications on Linux. Okay, so I think I had to install Wine, and if you can go and you can probably check how to install Wine over here and get it installed. So if I do Wine and then probably I run this file, so it's gonna, I know it's a bad thing that obviously you should not run something which is present on the target machine, can be harmful or something, but obviously let's just try to run it because I just want to show that it actually does run. And before that what we can do is we can just use strings to see if we get some useful content or some data present over here from this particular file. Okay, so if you do strings, let's see if we get some connection or something like that. So let's just do strings. We get multiple things over here. Okay, it says this program cannot be run in DOS mode, and also there is like a, I think, character set over here for some reason, and also this entire string over here, and it says access denied, string too long, invalid string position, and there's get username. So probably there's some function which says get username, and there's probably some function which says shell execute w. So in short, there are like functions running over here, that is get username, shell execute w, and also probably, this is what I'm just guessing from looking into this file, and we have few things. Obviously you can be like, hey, you know what, this looks like a password or hash, let's just try to crack it. I don't think it is, but yeah, it's like some base 64 output. Over here also we get something, but nothing useful. Okay, so what we can do is we can just try to run it with Wine remote connection exe, because Wine is letting us run this remote connection exe in the Windows environment because of this Wine. Okay, so let's just hit enter. It may take some time to load actually, and then so it says access denied. So this string, we did see it over here, right? Access denied. So probably access denied means obviously it's a string, you can mention anything, right? Probably just consider that it's trying to log in into something or something like that. That's why it says access denied. So let's just try to check into it. You can use Gedra and check for things, but you'll actually find similar things what we found over here in the strings command. So you can do that, but you do not find anything. You need an actual debugger to look into things over here. So let's just do Wine and remote connection exe. Let's just open this thing. Okay, my bad, don't have to run the same thing. We need Oli debugger over here, so we need a debugging tool. So we can just check for Oli dbg. Yes, yeah, this is the one which you're looking for. You can go over here and try to get this downloaded from here. Download this thing over here. I do already have it in the system, so let's just copy this thing over here to the expert directory, and what we can do is we can just run Oli dbg exe and run that. It will probably run as Windows like. Okay, so what we'll try to do is we'll just open this particular remote connection exe file which we just downloaded. We run that and we get something like this. Obviously this debugger, if you all have done the buffer overflow, you all may be familiar with this particular thing, right? What's important is this particular panel over here. and this particular window over here. Okay, so before that, it is a bit tiny, so you guys may not be able to see. So that's why I'll just try to adjust the font, and let's just do the change 12. Okay, I think, okay, this is set appearance font. Okay, it's a bit big, but not really. So let's just try to change this 14. Okay, I think it's too big now, but I think it's readable, I guess. So okay, it's readable over here. Let's just do the same thing over here as well. Font OME form. Okay, so we have this thing present over here. Okay, we did try to, actually I think when it loads it does try to run, but what we can do is we'll just check this thing. Okay, first that obviously there are multiple, it says ASCII string too long. I think we saw string too long over here as well. I'm not sure. String too long. So we saw this string too long over here as well. And we'll see for another things which we find interesting. So let's just keep scrolling. It may take some time. In short, you don't have to pay much attention to it because this box is somewhat like very tricky, and it is a bit like a bit difficult. Like not exactly difficult, but yeah, this is like you have to reverse engineer and run a debugger on it to get something. So obviously you do not have to know each and everything. What is this doing? What is this doing? Obviously, if you want to be a professional pen tester and into reverse engineering, you should be knowing all these things later. But for now, let's just consider, like, we'll just look into a few things over here. So we have this XRI as well. So I think we saw that over here as well. Yeah. So we have this pass, remote connection. We have something over here which says C program files putty exe. We have something like Unicode clave. In short, it says that this particular thing, and it says something like open over here. Okay, so it looks like it's trying to run some putty exe file, and it's trying to open it over here as seen over here. And I don't think so that putty exe was present over here. I'm not sure. I don't think so it was present. Okay, so in short, we do not have clave as well over here, but yeah, let's just look into this debugger, and we see that we get multiple things: remote connection, invalid string position, string too long again. You just keep scrolling, look into these things over here. Say string too long again, invalid. Let's just ignore it. Over here it says remote connection guest argument something. So in short, there are some arguments being passed, I guess, for this remote connection tool. Okay, so that's what it looks like. Over here there are a few things like character, backspace, this, R, J, F, J, few things over here. Access denied. So this is what we are looking for, access denied over here, because for some reason, just I know it may be a bit this, like how did we know that it is access denied, but obviously it's just trying to create some access connection or something, so that's why I probably gave that access denied. Okay, so what we'll try to do is we can enter breakpoints in each and everything over here which we find useful, like this ASCII thing over here. But what we'll try to do is we'll just try to add a breakpoint to that particular access denied which we had seen earlier. I'm not sure where did it go. Okay, it's over here. So for giving a breakpoint, just press F2, select this line, press F2 on your keyboard. So it will be red over here. Okay, so once it's red, what we can do is we can run this thing again, run it, and once we run it, we obviously get some return from something like that, and that's how it. So when the reason for breakpoint is actually the exe file will run, and once it comes to this particular register and location offset value, it's gonna stop. So this is the breakpoint. We are breaking it over here. We are like, hey, do not run over here. So suppose if there's a one code which is first calculating two things, first it is multiplying two things, then it is adding two things, and it is subtracting two things. If we put a breakpoint at, like, subtracting two things, adding two things, it's not going to go further than that. It's going to hold over there. Okay, so that's how this thing is useful over here. So it's going to put a hold over there. But if we see over here, we get some ASCII text which is SSH root GitLab HTTP, and there's some password present over here. okay, like if this that. So in short, if we saw earlier as well, so this is what I think, and I assume that this particular password and this string was actually generated by a function. It was not already present because we saw it, right? We saw a few as we saw the character set as well, obviously, and we saw multiple things over here in strings, but we do not find something like SSH or something like that. Over here also we do not find anything like that, okay, like SSH or some password. So in short, I think it is generating like from the functions which are present over here in this exe file. It's creating this particular text, okay, and it's creating this particular ASCII text, and that's how it's trying to log in later. That's why we cannot see it simply by doing strings or simply by not running it, okay, or just seeing it over here, as we saw a few things earlier as well, string too long or something like that. So if we look into this, we have a particular password and it says root over here for some, like, the reason. Obviously if you get some password, just try it with all the users. What we can do is we can just copy this thing. I think just select this and press Ctrl C, and in the cherry tree we can probably just enter this entire thing so that we get the password over here. We can copy this over here in our potential creds, root and the password. So let's just try this password now, which we did find over here into, and try to SSH into the machine. So what we'll do is let's just not close it. We can try SSH over here. Let's just close this thing horizontally. SSH root at 10.10.10.114. We'll just hit enter and paste the password which we did find, and we are over here as root. So obviously we can go to root directory, get our root flag. So this was the box. There are like multiple ways, like 2 ways to do it, and this part was a bit tricky, I guess. Firstly you have to get that postgresql thing sorted, and then later on we had to debug this thing. So I wanted to do it in the Linux box itself. That's why I installed Wine, and I got this oledbg file so that you do not have to check it out in the Windows environment using some other debuggers. So this was the box. If you guys liked it, do give a thumbs up, and if you guys have any queries, ask me in the comments below, and also do subscribe for more upcoming videos. Thank you.